You're listening to the Bluegrass Jamboree, playing the best in bluegrass, bluegrass gospel, and traditional country. TheBluegrassJamboree.com.
Hello, and welcome to another segment of Hear It Here, heard only on the BluegrassJamboree.com. I'm Brett Smeltzer, your host of Bluegrass Retrospect, which is normally heard every Friday evening. But today, I am honored to once again be hosting Hear It Here as I welcome on the phone my featured artist and special guests, Kathy Davis and Bradley Bishop, who bring you the acoustic dynamic duo of Davis Bradley. And we are going to talk with them today in regards to their latest gospel CD, Believing in the Old Time Way, released on Cardinal Class Records. So Kathy and Brad, it is certainly a pleasure to have you folks spend some time with me, and welcome to Hear It Here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
Well, thank you so much, Brett. It's quite a privilege for us. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us, Brett. It's an honor to be here.
It's my pleasure. We have talked with you before in regards to your previous CDs here on the Bluegrass Jamboree. But for the listeners who are tuning in today and are new to hearing of you as well as your music, could you tell the listeners, how did Davis Bradley originate?
Well, we are in year 6 of being full-time working together. And we met probably 7.5 years ago at a bluegrass festival, and we were jamming together and, realized we had a pretty good music chemistry, a good vocal blend. People pointed it out to us. We were both at the same place in life. We wanted to play music a little bit more than part-time, which is what we had been doing. And so we joined forces and we started Davis Bradley the following year, and we've been working full-time since and loving every minute of it, living our dream.
Where are you folks originally from?
I'm originally from West Virginia. That's where all my family's from, and my mother and my brothers are still there. And I make my home now in Linden, Virginia, which is Western Virginia, about an hour west of Washington, D.C., and that's where we base our headquarters for Davis Bradley in Linden.
And I live in Bowling Green, which is about halfway between Richmond and Fredericksburg.
So the folks out there know, even though they are an acoustic duo, they are also multi-instrumentalists as well as vocalists. Speaking from my experience, anytime I've had the opportunity to catch their performance in my area, just so you folks out there know, they're not your typical acoustic duo where one's just playing mandolin and the other's playing guitar. They're multi-instrumentalists that will throw everything from ukuleles to banjos, uke bass to kick drum, some harmonica. Anyone that is expecting just to go out and see an acoustic duo, you're going to be in for a surprise. Which brings me to the next question. Whose idea was it when you folks got together as a duo to bringing in these other instruments?
It wasn't quite just an epiphany that somebody had an idea and said, let's bring in a lot of instruments. It was more something that evolved. And I guess one thing that used to eat away at us in the early days when we used to show up with just 1 or 2 or maybe 3 instruments is people would say, oh, I really like your singing, I like your song selection, but boy, if you guys only had a bass, or if you only had somebody strum the guitar, if you only had this, if you only had that. And people often commented on what we might be missing. We appreciated the compliment, but we didn't like the idea that people would perceive us as missing something. And we said we don't want people to see our duo show as something is missing. We want people to see our duo show as it's something they've never seen before, something that's unique, full of variety, and we don't want them to ever walk away thinking, oh, if they only had this or only could do that. So we started pulling on all these other instruments and trying to mix it up, and then we started pairing different combinations of instruments and then trying to see how many instruments we could play at one time. I know it sounds kind of silly, but we got it up to about 6 instruments and started to have a much bigger sound, and people really started to respond to that and started to enjoy it, and that started to be their takeaway. Things that people would say about us is like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. So all of a sudden we went from, if you only had this, to like, wow, I've never seen something like that before. And of course, that at the end of the day, that's always better.
And they also quit saying, if you guys only had. It was kind of a good feeling to feel like that we had taken out a void that stood out to people. One of the things that we learned to do very early on to help build our sound was to bring in a ukulele bass, and then when we would stop playing that bass, it was like, that sound kind of dropped out, and we thought, how could we keep that bass going? my son actually introduced me to and encouraged me to learn how to use a looper pedal. And so I learned how to loop the bass, so that it would play one consecutive time through the song. And then I would hit the looper pedal, which would record it. And then I would be able to put that bass down and pick up the mandolin or guitar or whatever other instrument we wanted to pull in, so that we could exchange taking, a lead solo break while the bass kept going. So that automatically makes us three, at the snap of a finger. And then if we decide to play kick drum or harmonica at the same time, then we're adding more instruments. And a lot of folks have come up and told us this, wow, I walked around the corner and thought there was a whole band up there playing, because we try to get a big sound out of what we're doing too.
We do a lot of gospel shows, and there's one place that we play every year, and it's a big gospel festival. And a lot of the groups that come to the festival are like maybe 4 to 7 piece groups, 4 people singing, piano, drums, guitars, and it's big. And then we get up there as 2, and many times I'll play the old time banjo with the kick drum and the harmonica, and Kathy will loop the bass, pick up the mandolin, and play the foot tambourine while I'm playing the harmonica and the drum, and it really has an old tent revival sound.
Wow.
So it's really pretty interesting, and people will just come up and they go, wow, I can't believe what a big sound you guys get as 2. Now, we don't do that through our whole duo show, but it's featured as part of our duo show, and it's fun to do. It was a little bit of a learning curve trying to get 2 or 3 things going at once, but, just like anything, I mean, you got to kind of work through it and practice it and make it second nature.
And we try to make that part of the show. I mean, we could pre-record tracks on the looper pedal, but we make it so that it's live, so that people can experience or see exactly what we're doing and kind of follow. But a lot of times it'll go right over people's heads, and they'll be like, I thought you were just playing the bass. How did you do that? And one of our friends calls it the magic bass, because it just kind of keeps playing on its own. But anyway, it's been fun. It's kind of become second nature to us now. We do it so much that people come up and ask me about the timing of it and figuring out when to start it and when to stop it, so that there's no interruption in the song. We just kind of do it now like anything. Practice. Kind of helps.
Kathy's kind of got it to the point where we'll do these medleys of songs. Sometimes we'll string 3 to 5 songs together, and she'll start out with the bass or whatever, and then halfway through she'll change instruments and then back to the bass, and it's really kind of interesting. She kind of comes and goes with it, So I couldn't do it. We had one song that we were doing last year. It kind of never made it out of the rehearsal studio, but we did a song where I started on the old time banjo. She looped the bass, and then after she looped the bass, she picked up an old time banjo, and then I set mine down and went back to the bass. So I finished the song on the bass. And the transition was fine. We didn't quite have the flow to it that we wanted to have in our live show, but it was kind of fun to fool with some of that stuff.
How would you describe the music that you play? You're not a duo trying to play bluegrass music. What music would you describe that they would expect to hear when they would come out to catch your show?
Well, we worked for a couple of years trying to find like what is the most concise way to describe what we do. And it's a little more challenging than you might imagine, because we're certainly not specifically old-time music, and we're not conventional bluegrass, and we're certainly not country. So we describe ourselves as old-time country with bluegrass roots. I think that might be the most accurate description. One time somebody called us front porch music, and I thought that was pretty good.
Well, let's talk about the gospel CD, Believing in the Old-Time Way. Again, we discussed that you've released some previous albums covering some folk songs and some country songs. What inspired you to want to move into recording a old-time gospel album?
Well, we work a pretty heavy schedule, averaging 300 to 500 shows a year whenever we're all able to be out there, in lieu of things they're going on today in the world. But we listen to what our audience enjoys or what they respond to when we're playing, and we always get very moving feedback from all of our gospel songs. We do a lot of gospel music shows, as Brad had mentioned, the gospel music park that we play at, and a lot of people will request all gospel. They kind of look for that, sort of having a mix, which is what most of all of our CDs are. And we both are pretty grounded in all music that we play, we were influenced by growing up. My dad and Brad's dad were both into country music very heavily growing up, and then we all found our way to bluegrass and developed a love for that. But gospel was always at the root of it. We both were involved with our churches, and gospel music is always a big part of the music that we've done through the years. So we wanted to put a collection of those favorites together on a gospel CD.
You have some guest artists, including Marshall Wilburn on the upright bass and guest vocals. Most of you folks know Marshall Wilburn from the Johnson Mountain Boys, who are getting ready to be inducted in the Bluegrass Hall of Fame, and also from the Lynn Morris Band. But as far as Wayne Lanham on the 5-string fiddle, where would folks know Wayne Lanham from?
Well, Wayne was part of Bill Emerson's group for many years, Sweet Dixie.
Oh, of course.
And,
I'm sorry. Yep.
Yeah, he's a wonderful fiddle player, and he makes a lot of guest appearances with regional groups. Plays often with Mill Run, based out of kind of right by me here.
Back in the earlier day, he was with Patton Pending from up that way.
Okay.
He's a great fiddle player and a really, really nice guy to work with.
And how many tracks are on this CD?
12 tracks.
Let's talk about the first track. I'd rather be on the inside looking out. Where did this song come from?
This song was released in the 50s, and it was co-written by a country music artist named Rusty Gabbard, who was popular back in those days, and also with Hank Snow, who's obviously a country music Hall of Famer and Grand Ole Opry member. They co-wrote this. I think Rusty Gabbard back in his day was more of a lyricist. He often on his songs had co-writing credits with kind of a larger name artist, like he's written songs with Ray Price and also with Hank Snow. And this song I heard for the first time from my dad. My dad was a big Hank Snow fan and sounded quite a bit like him. He also, as Kathy mentioned, had run the music in our church. He was a music director, and he would play some of these country songs that had a gospel message, and this is one of the songs he used to play. And I heard him play it for years before I ever heard the original recording, and it was probably a song that I've always played, you know. And I remember as a kid, it was a little bit of a challenging song. It had what I call that riverboat turnaround in it, you know, the B7 to E to A to D, which was a little challenging for me when I was a kid and learning the guitar and all that stuff. But my dad did a wonderful job with it, and we've played it off and on in our gospel show for several years, and thought this might be a good time to get it on a record. And we're glad we did. We're happy with the way it came out on the record. Marshall played bass on it, Kathy played the mandolin, and I played the guitar and the banjo on it.
I'd rather be on the inside looking out. Again, this is from Davis Bradley's brand new all-gospel CD, Believing in the Old Time Way, released on Cardinal Class Records, and it's heard right here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
In the days of Noah, just before the flood, when the wicked world had all forgotten God, Brother Noah built a boat which above God's wrath would float, and the people saw that they were made of mud. Well, the door stood open with the gangplank out. Noah and his family entered with a shout. While the scoffers stretched their necks, Noah stepped out on the deck and said, I'm so glad I'm on the inside looking out. Oh, I'd rather be on the inside looking out than to be upon the outside looking in. When the rains began to fall, sinners on the Lord to call, but the door was locked and night was setting in. That old Noah from the inside looking out, he gazed up to heaven beyond life's water spout, and he said, I thank the Lord that I took him at his word. I'm so glad I'm on the inside looking out. Babylon long ago, and he had the strength to tell the devil no. The So we prayed 3 times a day in that good old-fashioned way. They said he to the lion's den must go, and the lions made him welcome to their home. They saw that he was nothing but backbone. When the king looked in and said, "Are you alive or are you dead?" he was stirred as Daniel spoke in gentle tones. I'd rather be on the inside looking out than to be upon the outside looking in. As you paced the palace floor, I had nothing to do but snore. God put a padlock on each lion's chin. That old Daniel from the inside looking out, you can bet that he felt good enough to shout. And he said, "Long live the king," as he started in to sing. I'm so glad I'm on the inside looking out. Oh, I'd rather be on the inside looking out than to be upon the outside looking in. As the rains began to fall, sinners on the Lord did call, but the door was locked and night was setting in. That old Noah from the inside looking out, he gazed up to heaven beyond life's water spout, and he said, "I thank the Lord that I took him at his word. I'm so glad I'm on the inside looking out. I'm so glad I'm on the inside looking out."
And we're back, and if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Hear It Here, heard only on the BluegrassJamboree.com. Once again, I'm Brett Smeltzer with my special guest and featured artists Kathy Davis and Bradley Bishop, Davis Bradley, who are talking with me today in regards to their brand new all-gospel CD, Believing in the Old Time Way, released on Cardinal Class Records. Where did the title, Believing in the Old Time Way, come from?
The title is actually has a double meaning to it. And the first meaning is when we say believing in the old time way, we mean believing in the old time way of worship and religion, the old songs and the old school Sunday go to meet and worship. Give me that old time religion, if you know what I'm saying. And that's how we grew up. That's how we still like it. And it also talks about the music, believing in the old time way. The music is what we would describe as old time country with some roots in bluegrass. There's some tracks on the record that are straight up bluegrass. There's some that have more old-timey feel and some that are somewhere in between. So we thought the title was appropriate for the project.
And that's kind of what stemmed the cover of the project. As you're able to pick up a CD and see that cover, there is an old white country church, and we actually geographically had to search long and hard to find an old country church that was still up and open to go into. A lot have been closed down, or new, larger facilities have been built in their place. But this particular church we found in Stevens City, Virginia, and it's the Macedonia United Methodist Church, which also became the location of where we did a music video, which we'll be sharing about that and a song that's on the CD that's featured in that video.
And if anyone is watching the video, the outfits that you're in, this is also part of your show as well, correct?
Yes, it's not part of every show, but it's part of many shows. And I'll explain that. We do the Davis Bradley Old Time Radio Show. There's a live version of the show where we do it on a stage in front of a live audience. And there's also a broadcast version of the show, which airs every Saturday at 12 noon on WSBS out of Crewe, Virginia. All by the same title, the Davis Bradley Old Time Radio Show. The idea started back maybe a couple of years ago from playing in the Shenandoah National Park. We're one of the regular groups up there that plays for the tourists, during the summer season. It's kind of like spring through fall. And one thing that's nice about playing in the Shenandoah National Park is you can change your show incrementally and see the effect of it, because we play to different audiences every night, and it's audiences from all over the world. So people come and they have, many times they have no, pre-existing bias towards the style of bluegrass music or mountain music that they like. Some of them have never even heard this kind of music before. And so we thought, what is the best way to present our music to the people and to get the most people enjoy most of what we do most of the time. And what we noticed is the more we provided people with an experience, that they could go home and talk about and reminisce about, the more they seemed to engage with us and enjoy the music. So we started by simply setting up a couple of backdrops. Our first backdrop was just this tapestry mural of an old general store with some gas pumps, and people thought that was the coolest thing, and they were taking pictures of our stage set and everything else. And then once we saw that that was catching on, we showed up in overalls and all that stuff, and we played the role of the gas attendants, and people were loving it. And then we went from that to an old-time radio studio setup. So the type of thing where if you went to a live broadcast of a radio show in the 30s or 40s, sitting in the audience, what would you see in front of you? And we tried to make our set look like that. And people really started responding to it. And then it evolved from there to where we started adding in the old-fashioned commercials, pre-recorded commercials. We have an old, like a floor model Philco radio from 1941 as part of our stage set. And we would broadcast the old commercials through the radio. All the lights would come on in the radio. And all of a sudden you'd hear this old announcer speaking, and the old commercial would come out. And people were really enjoying it. So we found that was a good formula for the audience. And then we took the idea to WSBS, and we said, what do you think about returning people back to the golden age of radio? And they immediately liked it. It's a time slot at 12 noon on Saturdays. And we're in our second year with the show. And we get a lot of nice feedback from people. People seem to really enjoy it. And we still make it part of our live show for special occasions. Usually we're booking it in small theaters, and it's kind of a special performance. It's not necessarily our everyday performance. But it's a lot of fun. We try to recreate that atmosphere of the golden age of radio and return people back to that feeling as if they were sitting in the audience.
Okay.
And you had mentioned the old time clothes. We went from the overalls at the gas pump to the old time radio stage set. So that in turn kind of had us searching in antique stores and places that you could get, the older clothes. And we started building a wardrobe of men and women's things, that you would have seen in the 40s, and that became a little bit of a challenge, but it was kind of fun too. It's a little harder to find the female clothes of that time than the men, but we found that whether we're doing the live radio show or not, because the style of music that we play still lends itself to that time, that we can still wear those clothes occasionally for doing like a live public performance somewhere. We may show up and wear, those clothes from that period.
It's been a lot of fun for us too, and I think for the audience as well. I mean, we get a lot of nice feedback from the audience and a lot of nice feedback from listeners to our radio show. And so it's been really fun, and it's forced us to dig a little bit deeper into the history of the music that we love, which we've enjoyed that quite a bit as well.
Good deal. Could you mention the station name and the air time as far as the old-time radio show that you do?
Yeah, its station is WSVS out of Crewe, Virginia. It's AM 800, 97.1 FM. If you're outside of the listening area, you can live stream it at WSVSAMFM.com. We also offer a subscriber service. So for people who want to have a keepsake copy, a digital download of the show each and every week, I send it out on Tuesday nights, and everybody gets a copy, and they can do with it what they choose. If they want to make copies for their friends, or just play it over and over, or keep an archived set of shows, whatever they like to do.
And that radio show that airs every Saturday is a collection of music, not just our music. We obviously include our music in it, but we have just a wide array of music from old country artists, Jimmy Rogers and the Stomans, and all the way up through earlier bluegrass with Bill Monroe, Flatt and Scruggs, and it just kind of goes on and on. So it's quite a collection of music that the biggest response we get is, wow, I don't hear this music anymore. And some of it they've not heard, because we really try to dig and play some of the B side of some of the Conway Twitty records that no one ever heard,
Right.
But it's all just great music. It's just amazing talent in that time.
We try to keep our time frame window from 1930 up to like maybe the later 50s. And it's generally first generation country, first generation bluegrass. Jimmy Rogers, Grandpa Jones, Carter Family, Lefty Frizzell, Webb Pierce, Hank Williams, So and anybody that was probably on the radio from the 30s or 50s.
All right, well, great. That's great. We're going to move on to the next track that we're going to air. This one's entitled Wings of a Dove, and this was recorded by Farron Young, but what inspired you to want to include this on this CD?
I think I might let Kathy go on this one.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you would, since it was your mom's favorite songs, which was really kind of what inspired us to include that song. This was a favorite of Brad's mother, and unfortunately, she passed on over a year ago now, but this was a favorite song of hers, and that was one of the first times that we pulled it out and started performing it. We tried to mix it up a little bit, as we do with all of our CDs, and include different combination of instruments. So on this particular track, you'll hear the auto harp, the guitar, bass, also some harmonica that Brad plays. We also, as I'd mentioned earlier, we did a music video with this song, and that's posted on our YouTube channel, and we invite you to go check that out. It'll also be on our website.
Yeah, Kathy plays the auto harp on it, and the auto harp in the video was the auto harp that my mom bought right around 1960 with her S&H green stamps.
Wow.
And she used to sit at the kitchen table and strum the auto harp and try to figure out some of the songs that would come across the radio. And one of the songs back in those days she liked a whole lot was that Pearl and Husky song, On the Wings of a Snow White Dove. So we thought it was fitting to play it on the auto harp and put it on the record, which the record we dedicated to our moms, Kathy's mom, and in the memory of my mom.
The video is not only on YouTube, but it's also on your webpage?
Yes. It's davisbradley.org, and it's right on the home page. You'll see that posted, and it's also posted on YouTube as well. And we've been featuring it on Facebook quite a bit as well, since it's the new video, and it's been getting some good response. We had some friends that we invited to join as our parishioners to stand in, so they're part of the video. We have some friends and even some family that were in the area that were able to come out. They came in and took a seat in the church to watch us perform the song live.
As far as acquiring the CD, this entire CD has been officially released as of last week?
9th of July.
9th of July. And how would the folks go about acquiring the CD, or what affiliates do you have as far as being able to digitally download this entire album?
We're on all the most common digital download sites like CD Baby, Amazon, iTunes. We're also available for live streaming on Spotify. Probably Spotify is where most people live stream us. All of our records are on Spotify. We have a limited collection on Pandora, and I hear that most of our stuff is available on Rhapsody and some of the other European streaming services. If they want a hard copy of the CD, we can put one in their hands at one of our live shows if they come out and catch a show, or we can ship it to them. They can order from our website on our store. We have a store on our website. They just got to click on the store, and there's all kinds of stuff on there, but they'll see our new CD, so we can ship it right out to them. We also send out a monthly newsletter. If they're a newsletter subscriber, it's an email newsletter. They can order it through the newsletter, or just shoot us an email at info@davisbradley.org. Let us know you're interested, and we'll get one out to you.
What is going on right now as far as the touring with Davis Bradley with this pandemic? I mean, I know things have slowed down drastically for a lot of bands out there, but you folks still seem to be going across the map and still managing to entertaining people. So how is that working out for you folks?
Well, we found right away that we needed to pull out all of our resources and be as creative as we could. I mean, we have recorded music at hand, so we did a lot of specials with our merchandise. We did some live stream concerts, as a lot of folks were doing, and we also got together and recorded some performances and made them available on video or YouTube for people that wanted to purchase a concert and be able to watch it right in their home. And then we've also, as of late, we like many, were shut down completely for a couple months with probably 80 to 100 shows canceled. And we have found ourselves within the past month or two having a few more opportunities to go out and do some outdoor concerts where the venues and the facilities that we've been going to have been able to practice the social distancing and have us performing, back from where the folks are seated, and we may be separated by, a plexiglass or a shield, or they may even be inside watching us through the window, and we'll put our speakers up against the window to get the sound inside to where they are. And we found that there are ways to get the music to everyone that we feel they need it now more than ever, because we're seeing some smiles and some spirits being uplifted, and it's been good for them, for us as well, to be able to just keep bringing some joy through music, and boy, that's what it does for us.
Brett, you might not know this, but we recently invented the Davis Bradley Spit and Splatter Guard. It is a plexiglass guard that attaches to our mic stand, and it's like kind of like when you go to Food Line, you see the checkout people have these plexiglass shields. So we have one that attaches to our mic stand, and not that we're used to like spraying on the audience, but in the event that we did, we would have our splatter guard there to guard against that, and that has worked pretty slick for us. We just invented that a couple weeks ago.
Well, when you go to Patton, you may want to see about inventing the Davis Bradley spray bottle and squeegee for your... Hey, you might be on to something. You might see a lot of bands out there using that in the future. Wow.
We used it last week where the place we were playing was very cautious about social distancing.
Well.
And we showed up with it and attached it to the mic stand, and they said, "Oh, this is great. Game on."
And so it's not a teleprompt. It's actually a splatter shield.
It is, and I don't know. And
yeah.
Not that we do a whole lot of spraying, but maybe.
Right.
Say it, don't spray it.
And you can customize it. We put like a Davis Bradley sticker on the corner of.
Oh, of course.
A little bit of personality.
Oh, put the little cardinal on there.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. This album, I enjoyed all the music that you folks have put out in the past. And I know you've had special guest Tom Gray on a couple albums, and also Marshall Wilburn on this one as well as the previous album. But there's something about gospel bluegrass. I'm a huge fan of gospel bluegrass. And I believe I was telling you folks earlier, I enjoy all the tracks on here. There's songs on here I'm familiar with, but you guys do a great job, your renditions of it. There's songs I've never heard before, but the entire album stands out to me. Maybe it's because it's gospel music. It's a great album. I encourage you folks out there to look into getting yourself a copy, especially those that like the old-time style of gospel music. Before we play Wings of a Dove, I'd like to close and just say what I always say to all my featured artists and guests. I wish you all the best with this CD. I wish you safe travels in your musical ventures. I wish you and your family to continue to stay safe and well. And we look forward to having you folks back again when you're ready to discuss another project. Kathy and Brad, thank you again for being my guest here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
Well, thank you, Brett, and thank you for helping us get some attention to our music and just doing what you do to help feature some of the more regional artists. And we wish all the best and God's blessings to you and your family as well.
Thanks so much, Brett.
Here is Wings of a Dove, and again, this is from Davis Bradley, Believing in the Old Time Way, released on Cardinal Class Records, and it's heard right here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
On the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove, when troubles surround us and evils come, the body grows weak and the spirit grows numb. When these things beset us, he does not forget us. He sends down his love on the wings of a dove. wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove. Noah had drifted on the flood many days. He searched for land in various ways. Troubles he had some, but he was not forgotten. God sent down his love on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove.
Well, folks, that wraps up another segment of Hear It Here, heard only on the BluegrassJamboree.com. Tune in and join us again for more interviews from some of your favorite bluegrass artists. I'm Brett Smeltzer, and until next time, take care, be safe, and God bless. So long, everyone.